Welcome to Finish Your Race, bringing you real success strategies for empowering your life. Here's your host, Don Armstrong.
Welcome to my weekly Finish Your Race podcast series. Wow, we've got a cool, beautiful morning in Dallas, Texas, right across from the Crescent Hotel. I'm sitting outside. This is the second time, as you know, for me to do a recording outside. So you might hear some honking, you might hear some airplanes going over, but you know what? It's all good because this is a beautiful day. I am your host, Don Armstrong, speaker, author, and survivor. Thanks for joining me this morning. I really hope that you'll turn in every week because I'm going to have some exciting guests who have messages that I think will resonate with you and hopefully provide some input as you move forward in your day. My goal is to provide opportunities and options for individuals to navigate through the twists and turns that life throws at us. And I'm going to use what I call the 3 A's, adversity, attitude, and action, as a guide for each of my podcasts. The 3 A's were really significant for me in my cancer journey, and I actually believe that the 3 A's and how they're managed is significant in all of our lives. My weekly plan, pretty simple. It's to offer uplifting conversations with extraordinary individuals who share their personal stories of triumph, hope, encouragement, and transformation in the face of their adversities, offering strategies to help you finish your race. Well, this morning, I am super excited about my guest. He certainly fits into the extraordinary category of humans. We've been friends for a number of years and share something in common that I think we'll both share and talk about as we move forward. You know, he's accomplished in so many areas. It might take me 30 minutes just to talk about all he's done. I learn more about him, actually, every time I get a chance to visit with him. He's a successful businessman with experience in Fortune 5,000 companies and investment banking firms throughout the world. He's worked with presidents, cabinet ministers, ambassadors of many World Banks approved countries of the sub-Saharan. He served on numerous board of directors and philanthropic organizations. He's an alumni of a school that I know very well, Abilene Christian University. He's a member of the Abilene Christian University Council and a director of the American Studies Institute Advisory Board at Hardin University in Searcy, Arkansas. He's also, and this is kind of fitting as we head into the Olympics, he's a world-class athlete. At age 19. It's been a couple of months since then, right? but he's a world-class athlete. He was on the 1960 U.S. Olympic track and field team that won the gold medal in the 1,600-meter relay, setting an Olympic and world record. And we're gonna dive into that here in a little bit. He's also, maybe even more significantly, he's a cancer survivor being diagnosed with AML September 16th, 2010. Out of that potential tragic diagnosis, he started the Earl Young's team in increasing awareness and registering donors of stem cells and bone marrow. And I'm going to let him expand on that as well. I mean, this really is, and when I talk about extraordinary people, this is an extraordinary individual. I'm beyond impressed. He does fit into that category of extraordinary. So please help me welcome Earl Young.
Thank you, Don. That's maybe hard to live up to that introduction. Thank you for the kind words.
Well, you're very welcome. They're very well deserved. Like I said, I always learn something new about Earl Young. I've always known you as the Olympic champion and the gentleman that really works hard to bring people into being bone marrow and stem cell donors, because it's so important to both of us, actually, as stem cell donor recipients. So it's always great to hear about what you're doing. I am a firm believer that we are the sum total of all the experiences that bring us to this very moment right here where we're at today in Dallas. So please take just a few minutes to tell the listeners who you are, what makes you tick, and how you got where we're at today.
Well, Don, as you mentioned, I guess Abilene Christian and the Olympics are a very defining time in my life, and I do talk about two defining times. That was quite defining, being a 19-year-old, just 2 years out of high school, actually, and standing on the winner's stand in Rome, Italy, receiving a gold medal with at least one fella in that relay that had been an idol of mine when I was in high school.
Really? Who was that?
That was Glenn Davis. Glenn was a world record holder in the 400-meter hurdles, had the world record in the 400 once upon a time, went to Ohio State, was a gold medalist in 1956 in Melbourne, and then again 2 gold medals, winning the 400-meter hurdles and being the guy I handed off to in Rome. So a lot of background there in athletics, and a lot of fun times, and a lot of molding me into who I am today. No question about it.
Yeah. Life really, to me, is a journey, and that journey, that story has a lot of chapters in it. You've had some incredible chapters throughout your life.
It's been an interesting life, and Don, this may be the most interesting part because of things that happened in my life. I'm able to create the foundation, Earl Young's team, which we created 6 years ago. And our objective is to increase awareness and register donors, become bone marrow donors. And let me just say that in brevity that my donor, Christine Wag, who lives in Offenburg, Germany, had she not registered to become a donor, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
Because she was the only match out of 22 million on file.
Wow.
To match my needs.
Wow.
So it's totally increases my personal awareness. You and I have both been through the recovery, which is a slice of hell, as you recall.
Right.
And now we have the opportunity to take a message out to so many people who don't even realize that by swabbing and letting us put that on file, put your DNA on file, that you might get a call one day to actually save a life. And that's the importance, the degree of importance. If you are one who respects life like I know your listeners do, and you think about, wow, person calls out and says, hey, would you save my life? And there you are, able to do it. We've registered over 16,000. Of course, last year was kind of a throwaway for all of us, all your listeners, and for me. It was a tough year, and we didn't get to go on campus and hold drives. But we swabbed 16,000, but more importantly, 61 people have been given a second chance at life. And if you listeners will just think about that a minute, hey, I'm going to die unless someone steps up and offers to save my life. It's as simple as that. Now, would you help save a life? I think you would. So if you have not registered to become a bone marrow donor, Don and I both would like for you to do that. And let me just say at this point that if you will Google Earl Young's team, we will find a way to send you via Federal Express the kit to swab and a prepaid Fed Express back. So it's not any money involved in it. All we want is your spit on a swab, and then maybe one day you'll get a call to save a life.
It's pretty simple.
Yes,
it really is
yes,
pretty simple. We talked early on as before we started recording that the theme really is the 3 A's: adversity, attitude, and action, and how they're integrated into all our lives. Earl, you've been an Olympic champion. You've been a successful businessman, really all over the world. I'm just impressed by the number of places you've touched, not just in the United States. Talk about some of the adversity that you've gone through. We know the cancer journey, but was there some other adversity, some other things that kind of click in your head? When you were training, were there adversities? What kind of comes to mind when I talk about that word?
For me, Don, the acute myeloid leukemia, that adversity for me overshadows any adversity I ever had in life.
Right.
couldn't imagine that at one time in my life I had this body in its supreme condition, in world-class condition. I know what it is to have a body in world-class condition. And then I know what it is for a doctor to tell you you have 3 months to live unless we can find you a bone marrow match.
Wow, that's significant.
Folks out there and listening to us can hear the words and possibly understand, but just like all things in life, I can't understand everything about you and you can't understand everything about me, but I think everyone would recognize I do have a competitive spirit. It was that competitive spirit and wanting to live that brought me through those recovery days, which I'm not able to describe because it was so severe. There were times I laid in bed and because I'm a believer, I think in spiritual terms, and I said to God many times that, look, if I'm going to fight like this and not make it, I'm really getting tired of fighting it. But one thing and another, and I'm alive today, and what we're able to do with our foundation, we go on to campuses, as I mentioned. We go on to campus. Typically, I try to either speak at a chapel service, if it's a faith-based campus, or be able to go around to the different colleges on the university, like nursing, like athletics, etc., and speak to the students and explain to them what we're there for. Now, this year we're adding a little wrinkle. We're honoring, I think, what most people would agree in our country today, the great nurses that we have in this country.
Right, they're fabulous.
I would say that since World War II, I wasn't here, but since World War II, we probably better understand what nurses do for us than we ever have since that time. We've seen them on TV. We've seen them put their lives on the line. We've seen some of them die, helping to overcome the coronavirus. So this year we have raised money for scholarships, and we're going into the schools, and we team up with the nursing school, with the student nurses. They actually own our drive on campus. They do the marketing on campus to the students and all. And then based on number of students that they register, we will be giving a scholarship to the student nursing school. And I think that's going to go over very well. And it's a way to help students, nursing students financially. It's a way to draw attention to the good that they do in this world and thank them for what they're offering to do in this world with their lives.
Yeah, that is so important. I can tell you that probably some of the most outstanding memories I have during my treatment going through AML was the nurses.
You bet.
You see the doctors for 2 or 3 minutes. That nurse is with you on 12-hour shifts.
That's right.
And they laugh with you, they cry with you, they console you, they really add value to what you're going through. And their whole intent is one thing, to make sure that you survive.
Yeah.
That's the whole objective.
I'm still very close to my nurses at Medical City Hospital here in Dallas, where I had my treatment. And we go to lunch together. We really, those are dear friends.
Yeah, I agree. I still have 3 of those nurses that I'm in contact with, and they always bring a great deal of joy to my heart when I see them. We talk about things. They remind me of different things. There's a couple of them that argue amongst themselves about who brought the stem cells to me, which I think is interesting. Right. They said, no, I did it. No, she said, no, I did it. I'm the one that brought them to him. But it's interesting. All of them came in and sang happy birthday to me when I actually finished the transfusion, which is, such a big deal because it's a rebirth, right?
You bet it is. You bet it is.
It's something that unless you've been through it, it's hard to really put it into words.
It is. Yes, it is.
It's almost anticlimactic, but because it's such a subdued event, but still it has such a big impact on us. It really is our second rebirth, and I say all the time it was my second chance at life, and I thank God every day that I had that opportunity.
Absolutely.
For sure. So, adversity is going to affect all of us. Hopefully for people, it's something as simple as maybe the car doesn't start in the morning, or maybe one of their kids is ill, and so they got to change their schedule. And not very many people go through a life-defining moment like you and I did, I work every day to let people know what I learned along that journey without them getting the same thing that I had. And I think that when I think about you and what you've done, you've turned adversity really into thinking about others, focused on other people. I wake up every morning with what can I do to help somebody else. I'm curious if you do the same thing. I know you do through your stem cell drives.
You know, you remind me when I think of adversity, I think of challenge, because the two words for me go together. How do you get through the adversity? And I recall athletically, when I think about adversity, I think about my sophomore year. I think about what it took to make the Olympic trials, make the team. And back in the day, it took the top 6 from the National AAU meet, top 6 from the NC2A meet, and the top 3 from the Armed Forces meet. That made up your 15 that would have a semi-trial, a semi-final race, and then the finals and the trials.
Oh, that just got you into the qualifying
That's what gets you into qualifying.
Okay.
So in the NC2A, I ran one of the stupidest semifinals the stupidest I've ran in my life, and did not even make the finals in the NC2A.
Really?
Then there was only one chance left to make the trials in Palo Alto, California, and that was to place in the top 6 at the National AAU meet. It was in Bakersfield that year. Interesting sidelight was that we ran the semifinals at 1 o'clock in the morning, which gives you some idea.
1 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, it gives you some ideas of how well the AAU was organized. But anyway, I did make the top 6 in that event, went to the trials. And in the semifinals, I was second and came back in the finals. And coming off the final curve, now remember, this is a 19-year-old boy who thought he was an adult. But I can look back on it now. And I came off the curve in first place. I knew everybody in the race. I knew that if I was in that position, I could make the top 3 and make the team. So right at the finish line, my good friend Jack Yearman from the University of California at Berkeley, by the way, the only guy I ever knew that had an Olympic gold medal and a Rose Bowl ring.
Wow.
Jack tagged me at the finish line. And Sports Illustrated had a picture of me looking head on. It says, "Grimacing Earl Young." Don, I wasn't grimacing. I was grinning from ear to ear, as much pain as you're in at the end of the race. I knew I had made the United States Olympic team.
Huge.
And, you still get goosebumps thinking about it. I went from there immediately. My folks were sitting in the stands. They came down and, went over and hugged my folks. And it was one of the most awesome days of my life. And then, went on to Rome with an awesome bunch of guys on that team. As I said, I was the baby. I was the youngest gold medalist in track and field that year, and actually the 15th youngest historically. So it was a heady thing for a young boy.
Yeah. And great segue into attitude and how it plays in all of our lives. I happen to believe that attitude is a game changer, and that your attitude, and particularly changing your attitude, can actually change your life and determine the outcome of your life in so many ways. I know in my journey with leukemia that my attitude probably was the difference between life and death, frankly. I mean, it was that big a deal for me. I saw this not too long ago on the wall of an office that I walked into, and it said 365 days, 365 new chances. And I think attitude plays into that. I mean, talk about attitude and how important it's been for you, not just during the Olympics, but throughout your life.
Yeah, it's... I think attitude in all occasions, all situations, has a double-digit percentage in the occasion itself. It's big. I've known, to go back to athletics, I've known athletes, I've known men and women, more men, I guess, with tremendous ability, tremendous running ability, guys that should have been on the Olympic team. That wasn't their desire, and I'm not knocking them for it. I thank God that I was given that gift and that I did want to take it and turn it into something. But I knew athletes that could have been world world class in track and field who just didn't want it.
Really?
Now, they may have gone on in life, and some of them did. Some didn't. Were successful in other sectors. It amazes us, and yet it's very human. It should be understandable to all of us. I think I will tell you this on a personal basis. I pray to God that when I die, nobody says he had great potential. What a disgusting thing to hear about yourself.
Right.
If you haven't used it up, if you die and you have potential, it's kind of like, I don't know, throwing your car away with a full tank of gas.
Right.
You know, and yet that's done. We've known people that could have done things much more important than what they did. And the most important thing you do is help your fellow man. There's no question. I saw the other day, I can't quote it exactly, but you know how we're taught, Don, to seek happiness and be happy, and that happiness is the most important thing. Happiness is not the most important thing. Being happy in life, having that as your goal, being happy in life is the wrong goal. The goal in life is how you get to that happiness.
Right.
And the way you get it, every person walking, I guarantee you somewhere in your life, you have felt good about helping someone else. Maybe you felt ecstatic about helping someone else. Maybe you were the only one that could help that person, like in a transplant.
Yeah.
Then the feeling from helping other people, I don't think there's a happier feeling you can have.
I agree. I equate it to a stone being dropped into a calm, still pond, the ripples that come out of that.
Yeah.
We have moments every day where we can impact somebody else's life, and a lot of times we push back and say, I don't have time, I don't want to talk to that person. Yeah. But those moments, and Earl, you probably have literally hundreds of those where you've engaged with someone. I've seen you do that, where that moment changed someone's life.
Well, thank God I have had those moments, and I'll tell you that if I could, and I'll say this as advice to our listeners, and maybe someone needs to hear it, for crying out loud, find a passion. Find a passion and go for your passion. I came out of school, I hung my spikes up when I was 23, which was too young, but hey, there were no Nike contracts back then. You had to make a living to run. And I look back, did I finish before I reached the potential? Yeah, I did. I could have done more. If it was today, it'd be a little different, because I could make money doing what I love to do. But the fact of it is, I went out in the business world, and the challenge was to make money, and that's wonderful. And that's a great cause. As long as you do something good with the money.
Right.
Money for money's sake, really has no meaning. But I love to be able to be in position to talk to high school students, for example, or even college, and athletes. And again, recommend to them, find your passion. It's that old story, find something you do for free. Yeah, that's wonderful. And some people do find that. And that really should be the quest. My God, you realize there's people getting up this morning hating what they're going to go do.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the world.
I'm fortunate enough to get up in the morning and be excited about what I get to go do.
I'm with you.
I wish that for everyone. Now, it doesn't come automatically. You got to look for it. Everybody has gifts. Everybody. I don't care how down the list you think you are. You have gifts. Now take those gifts, find those gifts, and then find a way to use those gifts to help someone else. I will guarantee you happiness.
Exactly. I've learned in my journey with cancer, I divide my life into two phases, pre-cancer and post-cancer. And pre-cancer, I was focused on really doing one thing, making money and being the best at work.
Yeah.
I missed out on a lot. I missed out on the importance in life, which to me is relationships. So post-cancer, I really focus on relationships. I learned a long time ago that when we do leave this earth, and we will all leave this earth, that I'm going to be noted for the relationships I have, the people I touched, not how much money I had, not where I lived, not where I vacationed. That stuff really doesn't have true meaning. What really has meaning is the relationships. And I know in the time that we've spent together that that's really important to you as well.
Absolutely.
When you were in your darkest moments, what got you through it?
You know, I never through all the dark time with the AML, I never thought I was going to die. And I think that's from my positive nature, my optimistic nature. There will come a day when I do, but I didn't think it was going to happen from the AML. The darkest moments were the painful time, the beginning after the transplant, when you go through that horrendous pain where your body's in pain and people think, well, what's that like? So like hitting your thumb with a hammer? No, it's a pain that goes so deep in you that you have to experience it to explain it, and then you can't explain it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The listeners don't, and I hope they never do.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I hope they never do.
I agree with you. So the third A is my favorite A, and it's action. Action is that it's a catalyst that makes an idea a reality. It's that effort that solves a problem. It's that action that kind of gets us to the point of where we really want to go. Since I've been diagnosed and went through my leukemia, I've become a runner, and I ran my first marathon 8 months after my transplant. I don't know that you've done any later. You've done more shorter distances.
I'm always impressed by you saying that. That's amazing.
So I did that first marathon 8 months after my transplant, and then I did another 21. But here's the deal. I knew that when I got to the start line that my action was to take that first step. And so that first step translates really into all the things we do. If you have an idea, if you've got something you want to do, you've got to be bold enough to take the first step, because if you don't take the first step, you can't get to the finish line, right?
Oh, yeah.
How about action for you? How did action have an impact on your life?
Well, as you've alluded to, nothing happens to that first step. Nothing happens till you get into action. And I have to be, my nature is to have to be doing something positive and be working. I love work. Without a challenge, without something out there to accomplish, I'm not a happy person. And this became pretty obvious as to what could be done in this sector of raising awareness and registering people. You know, Don, my favorite book in the Bible is the book of James. And it's because when I read that, I read about a man of action.
Right.
And I love that. He says, very boldly, he says that if you know to do right and you don't do it, you're sinning. Well,
right.
There's enough sinning going on, and we all are sinners, but we're all children of God too. So that's the bright side. But anyway, doing work like you and I have talked with, like we mentioned earlier in this podcast. We are so blessed, and we have such joy out of helping other people. And we can't help but recommend the same thing to other people. That doesn't mean you have to quit your job and open a philanthropy. That just means, good Lord, smile at the person that's frowning. Say hello. Be friendly. You have no idea. You have no idea. We have no idea of lives that we've touched for good without intending to touch them for good.
Exactly, yeah.
People need people, right, to quote a song phrase. But, just acknowledging somebody when you walk by and say hi. You may take a burden off their back that you will never know
Absolutely.
about.
May give them a spring to their step.
Absolutely.
Right?
And it didn't cost you one red cent. Didn't take anything from you.
Right. I think those are really great words for the listeners to think about, but do more than think about it. Take action and make it a part of what they do every day.
Just let it be a part of you. And you know what? You will feel better.
Absolutely.
It goes hand in glove. If you put a smile on your face, you're going to feel better.
Right.
That may sound trite, and I know you've heard it before, but it is absolute truth.
Yeah, you're right. So, Earl, as we kind of wrap up, I'm interested if you have one piece of advice to give the listener that will help them move forward in their life. Just one nugget, maybe.
Well, the first thing that pops to my mind is what we were talking about earlier, because I believe so strongly in it. For crying out loud, don't let people run around saying you have great potential. That's not a nice thing to say about a person. That means you're not performing. Find a way, and we've mentioned a few. Find a way that, along with whatever you do in life, that you can do something for your fellow man. That may be cutting a check for a philanthropy. That may be smiling to someone on the street that's frowning. Use good sense as you smile too on the street, but you know what I'm saying.
Sure, of course.
Find a way to leave the world today a little better than you found it this morning, and that's not difficult. And I know there's people out there hurting. I know there's people that are sick. I know there's people that are struggling financially, etc. And it's still the helping the others, no matter how bad off you are, helping others will lift you up.
No doubt. Great satisfaction in that.
Yes.
That's where to me where happiness comes from. I agree with you.
Yes, sir.
Earl, I know you got some interesting things coming up, some really important things to support. One of the things that you're most interested in, you've got a golf tournament coming up, don't you?
Great. Thanks for bringing that up, Don. Yeah, on July 26th at Stonebriar Country Club, we'll have the Earl Young Invitational, and it's coming together great right now. We're even going to have 2 hole-in-one trucks available out there.
Nice.
So if you can come out and hit a hole-in-one, Don, we'll just give you a truck.
That's perfect. One
of them's from Hanner Chevrolet in Baird, Texas, and the other one's from Clay Cooley right here in Dallas. So we're looking forward to raising funds, and those funds are going to the scholarships that we talked about at nursing school. So it's a twofer for me and what we're creating here. We get to help nurses, students become nurses. We get to help them. We get to honor the nation's the nation's nurses, and explain to people about how important it is to become bone marrow donors. And again, if somebody hears this and wants to look at my website, we have instructions on there that show how to send us a note that you want to become a bone marrow donor, and we'll make sure that that gets done.
So how can people connect with you? What is your website? The
website is www.earlyoungsteam.com.
Perfect. Well, Earl, you are always a man on the move, and I appreciate that fact with you. I think we share that in common. I hope that the listeners will find your website, get involved from the bone marrow side, get involved with your golf tournament. More importantly, get to know Earl Young and see what they can do to help you as you move forward in your life. So thanks so much. You inspire me absolutely every single day, and I mean that when I say that. You really do.
Thank you, Don. This is a great time with you. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, that's a wrap for the weekly Finish Your Race podcast. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And if you're looking for a speaker at your next event, reach out to me on my website, donarmstronglive.com, or email me at fortwortharmstrong@yahoo.com. That's ftwortharmstrong@yahoo.com. It's been great having you here this morning with me. Earl, can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this.
Me too, Don. Thank you.
Have a great day. Thanks, everybody.
You've been listening to Finish Your Race with Don Armstrong. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit finishyourrace.com.